Hi everyone, it's nice to meet you. My name is Briley Flores. I'm going to be the Crisis Director for the Illuminati Committee here at COCMUN 2020 online. And we're recording this video to explain to delegates who might have questions kind of how we're going to be doing the Crisis online, what that situation is going to look like, and hopefully answer some questions you might have kind of in advance.
My name is Victoria Dangtumja. I'm the SecGen for this year's COC 2020 MUN.
My name is Shannon Kloppenstein. I will be taking the role of host during our virtual COC MUN 2020.
My name is Phil Gusson. I'm the faculty advisor for the College of the Canyons Model United Nations team, and I'm glad that you're going to be joining us for our first virtual conference.
In this video, we're going to do a brief rundown of the major mechanics of the online crisis committee. Delegates are going to be working on three main platforms for COC MUN 2020. The first platform that they're going to be working on is Google Docs. The second platform they're going to be working on is Zoom, and the third is Discord. The text channels in Discord are going to be used to contact the rapporteur and a new role which is called the host. The voice channels in Discord are going to be used for unmoderated caucuses, and this will occur over the course of the committee. Delegates are going to have access to two Google documents on Google Drive. They're going to have access to a committee directives document, and they're going to have a personal directives document. A third document called the committee timeline is not going to be accessible by delegates, but will be screen shared with delegates via Zoom by the chair. For the purpose of this explanation, we're going to be using an example of a crisis simulation that we did called the Greenwood Gauntlet. This is not going to be the crisis that will be used in COC MUN, but this is just sort of a suburban fantasy that will be used for explanatory purposes. So the document that you see is the committee directives document. This document is going to be shared and accessible with all delegates. Committee directives have four parts. The first part is the title. The second, we'll have sponsors and signatories. And then lastly, the content, which will be formatted like you see here on this directive. Delegates will work on their committee directives on the committee directives document. When a motion to introduce some or all of the committee directives passes, the committee directives which meet the requirements will be moved to the top of the committee document, after which the following motions are in order. Motion for a moderated caucus to discuss the committee directives, or motion to enter voting block. After a motion to enter voting block passes, the chair will read the committee directives in the order introduced, after which delegates can first motion to accept the committee directive by acclamation, or motion for one speaker in favor and one speaker against the committee directive, after which a vote will be taken. If no delegate wants to speak against the committee directive, it will pass by acclamation. If a committee directive passes, the dais will bold the motion. If a committee directive fails, it will be marked by a strike-through.
This is an example of a personal directive. For the purposes of the simulation, I was Pastor Will Graham, and in the committee was basically addressing a bunch of break-ins in this Greenwood committee in a community, and as a pastor, obviously I was pushing my own agenda and I had my larger arc, but this was the first directive I wrote that was mainly like for protection, and so as you can see, as a pastor, I was gay, we're not married, I had a church, and I had basically guards protecting me that were family so they wouldn't betray me, and I had VPN encrypted cameras and computers basically. So this was just like starting out my arc, just to give you a little background, and then as the committee grew, we went into like the COVID-19 virus came in and like different other aspects played in, and the town ended up being blown up, but yes, that was the beginning.
So this is an example of what your personal directive might look like, not so much as content, but as far as structure within Google Docs. So each delegate is going to create a Google document for personal directives, like is seen here, and we'll share it with the crisis staff at a provided email. The email will be cocmuncrisis@gmail.com. You will have access to this information if you need it for future reference. And you will need to give crisis email edit access so that they're able to respond to your personal directives. Before we begin, the chair and crisis director will be going and verifying that everyone has done this and that everyone is set up before we start committee. When you're finished writing your personal directive, you will use the insert horizontal line function to put a horizontal line at the end of your directive. After you've inserted this line, this is considered submission for directive purposes, and you should not be editing your directive further. Once Crisis has an opportunity to review your directive, we will respond on the document and highlight our response so that you are able to differentiate it from what your directive looks like. We will be doing this at the bottom of each directive, so be sure to be very clear where one directive ends and another directive begins. Joint personal directives. Delegates will be able to use any method of private communication they pick, Zoom chat feature, GroupMe, text, Messenger, Google Docs, etc., to formulate and create their JPDs. Through our simulation, we found that Google Docs work particularly well, but again, you will be free to use them however you choose, and when it comes to actually writing them, as we will not be monitoring that. What we will be looking for is submission of joint personal directives in the personal directives document. JPDs should be formatted as follows. It should have a title if it has one, sponsors, which would be the names of everyone participating, the content, and signatures. Joint personal directives. Delegates will be free to use any method of private communication they pick in order to write their joint personal directives. They can use Zoom, they could use GroupMe, text, Messenger, and in our simulation we found that Google Docs worked particularly well. But again, delegates will be free to draft their personal directives, joint personal directives, in whatever method they choose. What we will be looking at as staff with the joint personal directives is that they are submitted to each character's personal directives document. Each joint personal directive should contain a title if there is one, content, and importantly, a sponsors list with lists of all participating delegates. Now, the joint personal directive will be submitted much like a personal directive. However, it won't be reviewed by Crisis staff until it is seen that the exact wording of the joint personal directive is present on the personal directives documents of all participating delegates. Once we've determined that and the horizontal line is established, then we will discuss and respond to the personal directives in each person's personal directives document.
So in this case, since this is a joint personal directive between Al Rydall and Pastor Graham, the staff will look at Will Graham's joint personal directive to ensure that the exact same wording is in both documents. You can see that the Crisis staff will be going back and forth between the documents to ensure that they're the same.
Also, if I may add, making sure that your counterpart in Crisis has the same joint personal directive as you is your responsibility. That is not the responsibility of the Crisis staff. Like in a normal Crisis committee, you're the one that needs to make sure that the other person signed on to it. In this case, you need to make sure that they have the exact same wording in their own document. If you don't receive responses on your JPD, then you know that the other person didn't post their JPD. But again, I'm reiterating, it is not the Crisis staff responsibility to make sure that is your responsibility.
Just like the personal directives, when a joint personal directive is submitted, the Crisis staff will respond below. And the same response will be written, let me just move this up to make it easier. The same response will be written on both of the sponsors of the joint personal directive.
Over the course of debate, delegates will be moving in and out of voting block. During voting block, delegates will not be able to leave or exit the chat. Crisis may not come into Zoom to give updates at this time, and there will be a max of 1 for or 1 against speeches in favor or against committee directives. Directives will be voted on in order presented to the dais, and amendments will be allowed, and they should be presented to chairs after completion of the introduction. For the purpose of Google Docs, amendments will be added as comments on the Google Docs and must have minimum signatories and sponsors in order to make it onto the floor. Throughout the course of the committee, Crisis will be coming into Zoom to deliver Crisis updates. Zoom will be used for speech and debate, and it is important that delegates will debate on and make decisions on the Crisis updates, as if they do not respond to the Crisis updates in a timely or sufficient manner, the Crisis updates may tend to exponentially get worse as they are ignored. We are so excited to do this with all of you and have the opportunity to host a virtual conference, and we hope this clarifies what the platforms we will be using are, and some of our procedures for our crisis committees.
Before the conference begins, our tech team is going to be making contact with your head delegate or your faculty advisor. So we have the opportunity to work with delegates to help make the conference run more smoothly. So if you have other questions after watching this video and after reading the guidelines for the crisis committee, write them down and we'll be happy to answer them so that on the day of the conference, things run as smoothly as possible.
Our whole purpose is to start the committees as soon as possible. So it's very crucial for delegates to watch not just this video, but the other videos. For example, delegates that are in crisis are encouraged to watch the Zoom, the Discord, the Zoom and Discord video, as well as the crisis video. We know it's a big ask for you guys, but in order to smoothly run this conference and get the best experience you possibly can out of this competition, we highly encourage this. We hope that you guys enjoy watching our videos as much as we enjoy making them. And we're so excited to see how this virtual conference is going to go. Looking forward to seeing you guys on May 16th. Thank you.